Now at 6, children in danger. New York City's child abuse reports dropped by half. The I-Team uncovers the disturbing reason that number is so low. Shifting focus, Long Island begins phase 1 of reopening, the new strategy to give the city the green light. And history scrubbed for now, the roadblock for the return to human spaceflight for the U.S. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Natalie Pascarella.
And I'm Chuck Scarborough. More than 100,000 Americans have now lost their lives to COVID-19. 100,000. In the tri-state area, the number of deaths is approaching 40,000. But there are new signs of recovery. Long Island has begun phase 1 of reopening, leaving New York City, the last region, still on pause. Long Island manufacturing, construction, and curbside retail now all open. News 4's Paisley Chang is in Garden City with how things are going so far.
Construction resumes across Long Island today with some new rules of engagement.
Means 6 feet of space between workers, and whenever that's not possible, wearing a face covering.
County Executive Laura Curran says these new rules will protect workers as Long Island begins to open its economy this week. Curbside retail is also allowed.
I've had 2 sales already. I've got about 8 pickups lined up for this afternoon.
The lifestyle boutique in Garden City can finally be open for business now after being closed for nearly 3 months.
But this is tremendous. Our business has been, killed by this. The small business owner, we really needed Cuomo to say, open those doors.
Phase 1 reopening means non-essential businesses can open for in-store or curbside pickup. Couldn't happen sooner for the owner of the Pink Island. She says she has 3 stores full of merchandise that needs to be sold and sales that dropped by 90%.
It's a local store. I miss my customers like crazy. I'm friends with so many of them.
The sight of open stores and pedestrian traffic seem to give residents more hope about what's to come.
It's nice to see something open finally.
And County Executive Curran says that if the COVID numbers continue to decline, we might be able to move into phase 2 sooner than 2 weeks time. That'll allow people to walk inside retail stores to browse. And she said she'll also push for hair and nail salons to open in phase 2. Reporting from Garden City, Paisley Chang, News 4 New York.
All right, and then there was one. The state now laser focused on reopening New York City. Today, Governor Cuomo traveled to the White House to meet with President Trump. He wants to accelerate long overdue infrastructure projects to help New York's economy. Mayor de Blasio says the city now faces a $9 billion shortfall in revenue. That's up over $1 billion from previous estimates. The city still needs to meet 2 more metrics to reopen. That's more contact tracers and empty hospital beds. The mayor says the city now has a testing capacity of 27,000 per day. That exceeds the goal of 20,000. News 4's Chris Grioso live in Hell's Kitchen with the push to save struggling bars and restaurants. Where you are, Chris.
Well, a group representing restaurants all across the state says it is time to expedite sidewalk dining. They believe restaurants can do it safely. However, at today's briefing, the mayor said he is not quite ready to commit to that quite yet, wants to study the safety a little bit longer. But of course, the clock is ticking on the summer months when this is even possible. And today, Governor Cuomo visited President Trump, saying the clock is also ticking on federal aid to states and cities to avoid layoffs. At Hell's Kitchen's Empanada Mama, the tables are stacked inside, but they're ready to spread them on the sidewalk.
We just like the opportunity to take advantage of the weather, and we think that we can do that safely.
New York's Restaurant Association says bars and restaurants have lost more than $5 billion in business during the pandemic, and it's urging the state to greenlight sidewalk dining as part of phase 2, not phase 3 of the reopening. This as state and city budgets are in desperate need of new tax receipts.
It was a good discussion. He understood what we were talking about, understood what we need.
After a White House meeting with President Trump, Governor Cuomo emerged without a new promise of federal aid and with new criticism of Senate Republicans blocking that aid.
Take your blinders off, man. It's not just about your state. What, are you going to get the national economy running without New York, without California, without Illinois, without Connecticut, without Jersey?
On Wednesday, Mayor de Blasio said the city's budget situation is getting urgent, and he called for state lawmakers to grant him more authority to borrow money if federal cash never comes.
We are getting to a point of really tough choices. We have to pass a budget by law by the end of June. So we have about 4 weeks.
Since de Blasio took office, he has expanded the city budget by about $20 billion, and he now estimates the pandemic blew a $9 billion hole in that budget.
When you hear the mayor say we are $9 billion in the hole, what is $9 billion? What does that mean to the average person?
$9 billion, it's about 1/10 of the city's budget.
Maria Doulis is vice president of the nonpartisan Citizens Budget Commission. She says to patch the city's budget, a combination of federal aid and staff cuts will be needed.
There will have to be some layoffs.
As cities and states contemplate public employee layoffs, Governor Cuomo said today a big part of his discussion with President Trump was about big infrastructure projects that could actually put more people to work. Those include, according to him, construction on LaGuardia Airport, the new Penn Station, the LaGuardia Rail Link, and others. No commitments on those from the president, though. For now, reporting live in Hell's Kitchen, Chris Glorioso, News 4, New York.
All right, Chris, thank you. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy says the state is exceeding its goal of testing at least 20,000 people a day, and only 7% of those tests are coming back positive now. That's down 50% from just 2 weeks ago. Newark deployed its first mobile testing unit today to augment the city's 7 existing testing sites. It can test up to 200 people a day for the virus and antibodies. And within the past few hours, Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala signed an executive order allowing fitness clubs to use certain city fields and parks for their workouts. Socially distancing is still the order of the day. Gyms can apply to host outdoor classes of up to 15 people, spaced 6 feet apart. Applications are going to be approved on a case-by-case basis.
Chuck, in Connecticut, the Archdiocese of Hartford says that weekday Mass can resume on June 8th with masks, social distancing, and no more than 50 people present. This announcement came today. The total number of coronavirus cases in the state is now above 41,000. The number of deaths, though, just surpassed 3,800. But the number of new deaths and hospitalizations continues to decline. The Diocese of Bridgeport already allowing Mass to be celebrated outdoors.